والآن أدعو السيد رشاد حسين سفير الحريات الدينية بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية لإلقاء كلمته، فليتفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Honorable President Mohammed Sheikh Ghazwani, Honorable President Muhammad Bukhari, and the Honorable Secretary General of the OIC, Ibrahim Taha. It's so nice to be with all of you, with all of the esteemed guests that are here, scholars, religious leaders, leaders in civil society, including so many impressive young people. And when I first entered the hall today, I was so encouraged to see so many people here to do the work of promoting peace, the hard work of coming together, and especially encouraged to see so many of the young people that are here today. And I also want to thank our teacher, our leader, the Honorable Sheikh Abdullah bin Baya, for all the work that he has been doing throughout his life to promote justice, to promote peace, to promote unity, to bring people together, to put out fires. This is something that he's done since a very young age as someone with such a unique background, working within the government, working with governments, working as a religious leader, working with so many religious leaders around the world. And it's such an honor to be able to participate from the United States in some of this work that is occurring all around the world. I am very much honored to have the privilege of again visiting a country that I love to visit, Mauritania. Such a beautiful country with beautiful and sincere people. That's the first words that come to my mind when I'm asked, when I go back to the United States and I'm asked, how is Mauritania? I always talk about the people here. And it's very much an honor to be able to spend time with you and to have wonderful conversations with you, to pray with you, and to be with you to do this work of promoting peace around the world. Our relationship with Mauritania, as you know, dates back to 1960, when the United States was the first country to recognize Mauritania. And this was the first country that I had the privilege of visiting when I began to do this work as the Ambassador for International Religious Freedom. And I must say that I'm beginning to make it a habit that when I come into a position in government, some of you may know that during the Obama administration, I was President Obama's special envoy to the OIC, and the first country I visited at that time was also in West Africa, to Senegal. And I love this part of the world, and I'm so encouraged by the work that's being done here for all of humanity. I want to applaud all of you that are gathered here for everything that you're doing. Even in these very difficult times in some parts of the world, you are the reason why we have so much hope and we remain encouraged and we have so much optimism. And especially, as I mentioned, because all of the young people that are here, and I specifically want to bring you all greetings from President Biden and our Secretary of State, Secretary Blinken, who are both encouraged by the work that's taking place here, and particularly the young people that are involved in the Youth and Civil Society Summit. And I must say that it was striking and such an improvement and so encouraging to see the women in large number in that group. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you and working with you and benefiting from your ideas today and in the Youth Forum tomorrow. This is such a unique forum that we have here. It's rare in the world to ever see a gathering like this, where you have top policymakers, presidents of major countries, the president of the largest country in Africa, Nigeria, the president of a country that's taken so much of a leadership role in Africa, Mauritania, the Secretary General of the 57-member Organization of Islamic Cooperation, coming together with religious leaders, with scholars, with youth leaders, civil society leaders to do this work. Too often we have just government officials talking to each other or civil society leaders who are seeking to advocate or access these conversations. But it's rare to have a forum like this, to have everyone together, including youth leaders, to address the many challenges that we seek to address around the world. In January of 2020, the Mauritanian government hosted an impressive conference on Islam's role in Africa and began several noble new pursuits. The Nouakchott Declaration detailed a range of innovative and strategic means to build peace and prevent violence in the region. We applaud these efforts to collaborate with civil society, including religious groups, to address violent extremism and terrorism within your borders. You proposed establishing councils of mediation, peace convoys, and collaborating with religious scholars to encourage greater dialogue and understanding of religious views, including Islamic views. Protection of human rights, including religious freedom, is a crucial element of peace. Abuses can spur violent conflict. Effective protection of human rights underpins the legitimate governance and rule of law that establish the conditions for a state to resolve conflicts and grievances without violence. They are essential to establishing and maintaining just and equal societies, societies in which all people, including members of religion and ethnic minorities, can reach their fullest potentials as citizens. I urge you to share what you have achieved so far in your pursuit of these goals and to discuss ways to keep those ideas at the forefront of your work and policy in the years to come. Conversations built on mutual respect are critical at the international level as well as in gatherings like these. Last month, as you know, President Biden welcomed leaders from across the continent at the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit in Washington. He told them, the United States is all in. The United States is all in on Africa and all in with Africa. African voices, African leadership, African innovation are all critical to addressing the most pressing global challenges and to realizing the vision we all share, a world that is free, a world that is open, prosperous, and secure. He announced plans to commit $55 billion to our shared priorities on this continent. And President Biden called for more African representation in global conversations. He said, Africa belongs at the table in every room where global challenges are being discussed and in every institution where discussions are taking place. That includes the UN Security Council and the G20. The advancement of human rights must begin in places beyond New York and Geneva. We need countries around the world and throughout Africa driving these conversations. For example, Mauritania hosted, and I participated in the first meeting in Nouakchott in 2020 that led to the creation of the Marrakesh Declaration on the Rights of Religious Minorities in predominantly Muslim-majority countries. One can say that the road to Marrakesh started in Nouakchott. Many of you joined us on January 27, 2016, to affirm that it is unconscionable to employ religion for the purpose of aggressing upon the rights of religious minorities in Muslim countries. We have many shared challenges that we must continue to address. We're seeing increasing restrictions on religious freedom around the world, but we are encouraged because we're seeing an even larger movement, including the individuals here in this room, to address those restrictions. As I mentioned, we've seen the Marrakesh Declaration as a powerful tool, which is an example of what we can achieve when we all work together. We've seen the work of interfaith leaders around the world, including in the United States, through initiatives such as the Alliance of Virtue. And we're so pleased that the Alliance of Virtue and the Forum will now be opening an office in the United States. This is exactly the type of collaboration that we believe we can model as leaders in the United States, and it's the type of work that we're encouraging all around the world. There's also much work to be done because some of the most oppressed people around the world happen to be religious minorities, including the Uyghurs in China, including the Rohingya from Burma. We must all work together, including Muslim-majority countries and our leaders from the OIC, to address these challenges. We have continued work to do to address the rise in Islamophobia, anti-Islamic sentiment, and to also address the sharp rise in anti-Semitism around the world. We have more work to do to address the use of blasphemy laws that target religious minorities and are sometimes used to target political opponents and sometimes even used to justify violence. These laws and the way that they've been applied are inconsistent with international law and are inconsistent with religious principles, including Islamic principles in some of the Islamic countries in which they are being used. As our office works to address these discriminatory laws and policies and to even address individual cases of discrimination around the world, finally we remember that it is important to use the most important and powerful tool which we have, which is education, which is another reason why I'm so pleased to see so many young people here. But I'm not just talking about education in the formalistic sense. It is important that we continue to use initiatives such as the Marrakesh Declaration and other tools which promote education of the principles and the values that we all share in order to address the root causes of hatred that often result in violence. And of course, when we speak about education, it is essential that we promote the right of education for all people, and that includes for all girls around the world. As a Muslim-majority country, Mauritania, and as a gathering of people from so many of the OIC countries, it is essential that we send a clear message to condemn restrictions on education and employment of women, including the restrictions that we're seeing today in Afghanistan. This is another area that we have to remember to work on with as much or more energy to make sure that we're not just addressing the symptoms of problems that we're seeing around the world that stem from the lack of tolerance and respect, but that we're promoting education as one of our most essential and powerful tools to prevent some of these challenges from ever taking root. So we continue to be encouraged by the work that we can do together. It's critical that we continue this movement that we're seeing here in this room, and we're confident that inshallah, as we work together and as we build these initiatives going forward, that we can address so many of the challenges that we're seeing and promote peace and stability on this continent and all over the world. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.